Hi everyone. We're going to fill in certain parts of sine and cosine given a graph. And so this first one we have is d, which is depth in meters, time, that's like your x here. And we're going to find p, q, and k, where k is in degree. And what we notice is this is cosine. They already give you that. Usually cosine starts at 1. So if we start at 1, then we end there. That's usually your characteristic curve. So apparently this has got shifted up to 15. We'll call that 15. So that means our displacement or our shift up is by 14. 15 minus 1, that would be 1 if we started at 1. So our P equals 14. Our Q is the amplitude. So remember, that's just kind of like the middle here. And what you do is you add these two numbers here to get your exact amplitude and divide by 2. That's your midpoint. So we do 14.6 plus 8.2 divided by 2. Let me erase that. And that's going to give you 22.8 divided by 2, which equals 11.4. So that means your amplitude is 11.4, which is Q. So Q equals 11.4. So they're going up 11.4 and down here 11.4. And then your K, they want in degrees. That's just your period thing. This makes a complete wave from 0 to 12. So we're going to take period. Instead of use 2 pi, we're using 360 because we want it in degrees. Divided by 12. That equals 30. So that's your K. So I'll just put equals K. Let's write the equation out. So D equals 14 plus 11.4 cosine of 30 t degrees. All right. The second one is a sine wave. We know this is shifted down. Usually sine starts right here and then does the wave like that. But at this time it got shifted down to -5. So your A is -5. And we can just count here to get the amplitude. We're going up 3 and down 3. So your B is 3. And then C is basically the complete wave. So we do the complete wave. And the complete wave goes from here and it stops here. So there's your center line right there. So it stops at pi. So your T equals 2 pi over pi. I'm using pi because that's what they give me here. And that gives you 2. So your equation is going to be f of x equals -5. And since this is a reflection, usually sine goes up. Usually it's like this. So it's a reflection, so it's going to be -3. And so our B we'll call -3. And then sine, and our C is 2. So C equals 2. And this is just going to be 2x. And that's your equation. And the last one we're going to do is this one. Now, this one's kind of written wrong, so let's fix this out. We want Q and D to be positive. Q and D are positive. And so we got to find all these values. Now, we already know it's cosine, and we know that Q is positive. So that means we don't have a reflection. So we also know that D is positive. So that means since it's cosine, I'm going to start, let's see, if I start here and just look at it, we're going from here to here. And if you write this out, this is like pi over 4, and this part is 3 pi over 4. Since we want this to be cosine, and we start here, we're shifting this whole cosine wave to 3 pi over 4, because we want it to be d to be positive. So basically, we can already tell that, and q has to be positive. So we're really starting here, even though the graph has all this other stuff. So we got to keep going like that. So if you start here, we have p, which means it's shifted down to, this whole thing got shifted down to -5 here, if you draw it like that. So that's your y equals -5. So we have f of x equals -5. We want q to be positive, so we're starting here. We're going up 3 and down 3, just like we did before. So that's 3, but it's 3 cosine. And then we have r. So our r is your 2 pi over your r. That's going to be your period. So your period's makes a complete rotation from -pi over 4 to 3 pi over 4. So if you add that up and divide by 2, you get -pi over 4. I'm just counting it starting here. It's -pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4 divided by 2. So that's going to give you 2 pi over 4 divided by 2. And so that cancels out and you get 2. So this is going to be pi over 4. So we're going to write our r is pi over 4 minus your shift. And we're shifting at 3 pi over 4. Okay, so that's a shift to the right by 3 pi over 4. And we made a complete wave within pi over 4. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.